called the Hamnavo Polka, traditional polka from Shetland, and I'm doing a music, what was it called? Something about May. Anyway, the music thing. And so I'm going to respond to these questions. What are your earliest memories of music? I got interested in music very young, actually, and yeah, I think became so interested I taught myself to read music. So I'm musically literate, I can sight read and I can understand music, but I'm self-taught really. And I think one of the stimulants, if you like, was hearing the Beatles when Please Please Me came out, 1963 I think, and I was a little kid then, but I just thought, this is fantastic, I want to do that. But I did like music already. I somehow had a feeling for it, or a liking for it, just ordinary songs, the little things you'd hear. And so that's how it started off, I think. And I pestered my parents, my mother, for a guitar. Eventually she got me one, a cheap guitar, but I had to pay for it, I had to pay her back. Were you ever in a music program? And do you play? Yes, I do play. I play various instruments. Guitar's my main instrument, and I'm a singer. And I've made my living from music, from doing gigs really. And I've done 20 albums, I think, over the years, probably something like that. 10 solo things, starting in vinyl, and then CDs and all that sort of thing. So yeah, so I've been in various bands and things, and solo and duos, and yeah, all sorts of things really. Is there any album you consider perfect? I don't know. I would say, I would almost say Sgt. Pepper, except for Within You Without You, which is a bit tedious, to be honest. But that's really good. And maybe actually something like Hard Day's Night is just about perfect. Brilliant, really. Yeah. If you come to classical music, Elgar's Enigma Variations, I don't know if it's an album, but that is just absolutely brilliant, superbly inventive, and yeah, that's probably pretty much perfect. Who are some musicians you wish people knew more about? Yeah, well, the musicians I admire, they're all unknowns. And but there's one guy, Michael Mara from Scotland, a singer-songwriter, and I don't generally like singer-songwriters that much. He's from Dundee. He's dead now. He died 10 years ago, maybe more. I got to see him a couple of times, and I was at a friend's house, and they had, I used to tour around and stop with people, and sometimes listen to some of the CDs they'd got, and there was this one by Michael Mara, and I listened to it, and just something about it was so unusual, and so I got interested in him from just an off chance really, and there's a biography that's just come out about him. It's called The Rest This Moment. I'm going to buy it. I haven't read it. I haven't got it yet. But anyway, it's a song of his. I'll do it because I don't know. I can record it now. I have recorded this actually. This cover of it. and it's called Constable the Clock. I don't know if I'll do the whole song. I'll do, yeah, it's not very long. To the north of us lie the mountains of the moon. To the west of us lies the sea. To the east of us, old Neptune's ocean. To the south of us lie our feet. Do not swing, sweet pendulum. Let the cuckoo stay asleep. Let the calendar be seized. Help us with inquiries. To the south of us lie our feet. Constable the clock impedes progress. Capture this instant. Clouchy and irons. Arrest this moment. Arrest this moment. To the left of us fly the monkeys in the trees. To the right of us lies a stream. To the back of us, old foolish notions, and ahead of us lie our dreams. Constable the clock impedes progress. Capture this instant. Clouchy in handcuffs. Arrest this moment. Arrest this moment. That's Constable the Clock. Usually I go on a bit longer, do the first verse again and all that sort of thing. But yeah, really great, you know. He had this very deep voice, gravelly, kind of rough-edged voice. But he did an album called Posted Sober, so if you want to listen to it, listen to him, his versions of his songs. It's on there. Yeah. What other musicians? Some of the traditional singers, you know, that are never... Those are the people that interest me, really. And yeah, I've got a load of books here of various people. A singer called Joe Heaney, who did a song called The Rocks Are Born. And Joe Heaney, Irish of course, sang unaccompanied. I never heard him sing. But something in... There's a recording of him doing this Rocks Are Born, and it's just, you know, there's a mystery to it, why it's so good. It's hard to say why it's so good. Some people would say that guy can't sing. Old man trying to sing this song. I'll take you a verse. It goes like this. Come all you gallant heroes, wherever you may be, and never hide with any farmer till you know what your work will be. He'll call you every morning from the clear daylight till dawn, but I'm afraid you'll never be able to plough the Rocks Are Born. And I wish the Queen of England would for me in time, and left me in some regiment, all in my youth and prime. I'd fight for Ireland's glory from the clear daylight till dawn, and I never would return again to plough the rocks born. That's just the first and the last verses of it. There's a little bit more, but I live in Leeds, and there's a lot of Irish people. I used to go to hear Irish people playing music and singing. There was kind of solidarity, and they would often sing that song. It meant a lot to them. They come from the west of Ireland, and ploughing the rocks, difficult life. And they came over to England to work on the roads and that sort of thing. So that song meant a lot to them. So they used to love that song. There's another singer called Elizabeth Cronin. She's Irish as well. I'm not Irish, but there is book Elizabeth Cronin, written by her Dahio Cronin, I think was her grandson or something like that. She died many years ago, but she was recorded very late in life. She was from the west of Ireland. She mainly sang in Irish, actually, but she did some. Oh, she died in 1956. Yeah, 1879 to 1956. And this is a story of her life, but also a collection of her songs. She knew hundreds of songs, as I say, most of them in Irish. But she was recorded by the BBC, I think, or very late in life. They said she was very frail when they recorded her singing. They had to hold the microphone right up to her mouth to hear anything at all. But she had this astonishing voice. It's, again, very powerful. And she sang some classic songs, great songs, like Lord Gregory, which is a child ballad. And I'll do one of her songs. This is called Shularoon, and it dates back to the 17th century, about when some Irishmen went to fight in Spain. I'm not sure what was happening in Spain in the 1600s, but that's the story of it anyway. Again, I'll just do a little bit just to give you an idea. But she's obviously she was just singing unaccompanied, and again, if you try and listen to it, if you've not heard singers like this before, it will sound very peculiar. But it's what I love. I'm not interested in Taylor Swift and stuff like this. This, to me, is the real deal. These people, like her and Joe Heaney, never made any money whatsoever from music. They were known in their locality as good singers, and they were just singing there. I don't think she went to pubs, but she sang in the house, and people would come round. They would have gatherings in the house, and that's all they did. Fortunately, some people recognised the quality and recorded her. BBC, a man called Seamus Ennis, who was a musician himself. He played the uilleann pipes, but he went round Ireland collecting, recording. In the early days of recording, I suppose, really. Had great big tape recorders, recording some of these people while there was still time. Unfortunately, they got Elizabeth Cronin. I were on yonder hill, oh there I'd sit and cry my fill, and every tear would turn a mill. This gadget from a Vornian slan, sure agus siúl go ciúin, siúl go doras agus éiliúin, is go dé tam a bhórnaíon slán. I'll sell my rock, I'll sell my reel, I'll sell my only spinning wheel to buy my love a coat of steel. Is go dé tam a bhórnaíon slán. Siúl, siúl, siúlarún, siúl go soccer agus siúl go ciúin, siúl go doras agus éiliúin, is go dé tam a bhórnaíon slán. So that's half of it's in Irish. So these songs are called macaronic, where they're in two languages or more. Anyway, she often sang in Irish. So yeah, there's a few people, there's lots more. And yeah, someday, it says 3. I'll give you one more. This is a man called Joseph Taylor, who was recorded as well, but in 1905 he was recorded by Percy Grainger. It was an Australian composer, of course. Percy Grainger, quite well known now, but at that time there was a movement to refresh classical music through looking at the folk music of different countries and different nationalities and so on. And there was this belief that the true music of a country was in the folk music, and it was out in the countryside. To go out there. And anyway, the wax cylinder had just been invented, so they were able to record things for the first time. You know, amazing, really. And there's a place called Brigg in Lincolnshire, tiny little place. They have a fair, and they still have it, 5th of August. And they have a singing competition, and that's, somehow, I don't know how it was, Percy Grainger found out about it, the singing competition, and he went there to record the singers. And amongst them was a man called Joseph Taylor, who was in his 70s. He was an estate manager for, you know, a landed gentry or whatever. And there's pictures of him in his smart waistcoat and everything, and you know, he looks a grand old man, really. And again, he sang a song. He sang a few songs, but he sang a song called Brigg Fair, obviously a local song, although it's modelled on other songs. And I think Percy Grainger was astonished at the talent of these untrained, they weren't trained singers. And his voice, he's got a light tenor voice, high tenor voice, beautiful voice. And Frederick Delius, the composer from Yorkshire, heard this recording and made a symphonic piece out of it, which is called Brigg Fair, and became very famous, actually. It's a real embellishment on the original song. And the original song goes, it was on the 5th of August, the weather hot and fair, unto Brigg Fair I did repair, for love I was inclined. I got up with a lark in the morning, and my heart was full of glee, expecting there to meet my dear, long time I'd wished to see. So you can hear that melody is, it's not in conventional scale. It's Dorian mode. It's a modal tune. It's got and it has a flattened second on the penultimate note as well, which is, you know, so it's a sophisticated melody, but you know, beautiful stuff. Anyway, that's three people somebody might be interested in. You will find all these recordings on YouTube and stuff like that. Probably somebody's put them up there. Is there any novel, poem or piece that captures the beauty of music? Yeah, I'm not sure. Music's its own thing, isn't it? Describing it is problematic, challenging in all sorts of ways. You know, there's interesting books about music, and obviously biographies of composers and writers and that kind of thing. And then there's like Thomas Mann's Dr. Faustus, which is about a composer who, and it was meant to be. Well, Schoenberg thought it was about him, and he sued Thomas Mann. I've read it. It's a long time ago since I read it. It's fascinating. You know, and about the rise of modernism in classical music, what they were trying to do. And so that's quite interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything particularly. Who is a musician that everyone loves but you can't stand? I don't think there's anybody I really can't stand. I just don't listen to things I don't like, I suppose. I remember falling asleep to Pink Floyd live. You know, it was at a rock festival. They were on very late, and they were building this massive set, you know, to do all this extravagant progressive rock stuff, and I was into all that music then. But yeah, I fell asleep, and when I've listened to them since, I don't find it that interesting. I know people will rave about them. And I'm sure if I spent more time listening to them, but I can't be bothered. Things like ABBA, you know, it's fashionable to think ABBA was a genius. I don't think so. It's just cheap pop music. It's all right. Nothing wrong with it. It's okay. And yeah, I've got you know, this. This album, Kind of Blue, by Miles Davis, which is regarded as one of the great classic jazz albums. I bought that thinking, oh, I really want to get into this. And for years, I just couldn't get through it. I couldn't get to the end of it without losing patience. But, you know, it might say more about me, but I don't really like that kind of stuff. I do like some jazz, though. You know, the height of jazz for me is Django Reinhardt, Stefan Grappelli. I just love that. But it's very French. It's, you know, jazz is kind of American, but what the Hot Club of France were doing is definitely French. Anyway, I wouldn't say I can't stand those people I mentioned, though. I wouldn't say that. To some extent, it's a failure in the listener, isn't it? A little bit, possibly. When there's something you're not getting it, you know. Well, that's what I feel anyway. I'm at least modest enough to know that I don't know everything. Which is more important, music or lyrics? Who was it who said, well, the most important, there was a songwriter from, he was American, I can't remember his name now. He said, no, the most important thing is the check. He was a songwriter. It depends, you know. The thing is, they're united, aren't they? They come together. That's when it works. So Yesterday by Paul McCartney, you know, it's because the melody fits the words so well. It's such a poignant song, and simple but beautiful, and that you can't separate them. I've set poems to music. I've set some of Shakespeare's sonnets, you know, highbrow stuff, some John Clare. And there, I wouldn't presume to be, you know, better than than the lyrics, as soon as they're written by people like Shakespeare. I'm not quite up to that standard. So dare say the lyrics are more important. But you know, I think that it's that in a musical piece they come together, don't they? What constitutes music versus noise? Yeah, it's not as simple as it looks, because some musical pieces, they don't have a melody, but they're definitely music. Steve Reich's Different Trains, I don't know if you know that piece. That doesn't have a tune, but it's astonishing piece of music. First, I heard that on the radio in England, on Radio 3 in England, which is just classical music. And I heard that, and I just thought, I've got to listen to that. And if you don't know what it is, it's about people escaping from the Holocaust, really. And there's a sound in it that is spine chilling. It's a sound of a train's siren going, train's horn going, you know, like you. And then Reich slows it down, and it slows down, and it becomes an air raid siren, or a siren of a, you know, a death camp or something. And it is really chilling. It's a fantastic piece, and what he's done with that, taken little snippets of conversation from people travelling across America quite often, who've managed to get out of Germany in the 1930s, and but then they're travelling across America, and then I think they're remembering, and so their mind's going back to Auschwitz or wherever it is, and the pace of it slows down, but there's no melody, but it's definitely not noise. So yeah, and some of the modernist classical music can sound like noise, but sometimes when you understand it, it becomes music again. You know, serialism and so on, what they were trying to do makes it approachable, and it's in the ear of the beholder, isn't it, a lot of it as well. I know they used to say, my parents used to, you know, they hear the Beatles or something, what's that noise, you know? It's just a way of disapproving, and it's definitely not noise, even if you don't like it. If you were to introduce yourself to someone with a playlist, what would be on it? I would put all these annoying things on, like Joe Heaney and Joseph Taylor and Elizabeth Cronin, which would annoy people intensely. Old people singing. Actually, they might appreciate it. And if they didn't, that's all right. At least they've heard it. You see, you never hear this music. You won't hear it. Same, you know, musicians and so on. I mean, I was playing last night, I had a gig last night, and I was playing with a fiddler from Orkney. You know, in Orkney, tiny few islands up to the north of Scotland. But it has its own tradition. And it's difficult to hear that music. I mean, the audience liked it, and she's a woman there from a traditional background, and her father was a fiddle, and she can trace it back hundreds of years, and actually people did love it. It was unique, you know. So yeah, so a playlist. But I do have wide tastes. I do listen to rock music and classical music, and yeah, various things. I try to be open-minded. It's all interesting. Yes, you're not going to like everything. Nobody's going to like everything. So my playlist, I would do one in the morning. I would do a different one in the middle of the day. I'd do a different one in the afternoon, and another one at night, and they'd all be completely different. It just depends how I feel. And there's so many things that I sometimes have this urge to say, listen to this. and astonish people with it. And a month later, I'm thinking, oh God, I'm sick of that. But there we are. Music itself, this is number 10. Music itself has no practical purpose. Why do you listen to music? Well, that's the first of these that is a statement, and it's obviously wrong. Music itself has no practical purpose. That isn't incorrect, obviously. Everybody can tell that. You just think about Alan Lomax collecting songs in America from chain gangs and that. They were working and they used songs to drive the very hard labour that they were doing. Sea shanties, all these sea shanties, there's a huge variety of different ones that were all put together to help them do various tasks, you know, hauling on ropes and blah, 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 all lots of different kinds of sea shanties. But they are designed to do something. They help you achieve something. They have a purpose. They're not music. Now, sea shanties, when you hear them, they're all tidied up. They're all nice and sweet and all harmonies and all that. But in the days of sailing ships, they weren't like that. They didn't harmonise. They didn't say, oh, you're singing an F sharp and it should be F natural. You know, there was none of that. It was bellowed out to help them doing work. And then there are things like lullabies. They have a practical purpose. Obviously, lullabies to soothe a little baby. There's endless examples that everybody can think of. So I totally disagree with that statement. Why do you listen to music? Actually don't listen all the time to music. I've got tons of CDs, but I don't often play them because I don't like background music. I want to listen, if I'm going to listen to it, I like to listen to it. I don't really listen to it in the car very much. So if I'm going to listen to music, I like to just listen to it really, you know, intently and try and appreciate it. And yeah, why do we listen to music? It's a hard thing to say, isn't it, really? I like it when I get a certain, song gets hold of you and you get this, you get addicted to a particular song. That happens now and again. And that's great. It's an expression of human feelings. It's often to do with emotion, music. So we can enjoy the emotions of others, or find it reflected in ourselves. Yeah. I've got a load of books I was gonna all about music. Wasn't that a question about? Yeah, not really. Anyway, books I've recently read. Keith Richards' life. Now I have a nice story about Keith Richards. I've never met him, but I was playing in a duo with somebody else and we recorded the last time. And a friend of mine is or was a radio producer and so on, and he emailed him asking about what about covers of his songs and everything, and he came out with, people like Maria Muldaur and people who covered his songs, but he also said Gordon Tyrrell and Brian Peters for doing the last. Couldn't believe it. We just did an acoustic version. My friend Brian plays Melodian or something, so it was a really weird version of that song in a sense. I mean, we really put life and soul into it. We recorded it. So I mean, that was amazing to get that response from Keith Richards. So that's good. Um, yeah. Sting's book's very good. Broken Music, it's called. It begins with him in Brazil or somewhere taking ayahuasca. I'm sure he wrote, a lot of these, when you get celebrities like Keith Richards and Sting, that they have ghostwriters doing it. I'm not sure, but I get the impression Sting wrote that book himself. I don't know him, obviously, but it's got that mark of authenticity about it. This is good. David Byrne of Talking Heads, How Music Works. In this he goes into a lot about the I can't find it, modern music, studio techniques and so on. He's also there's Talking Heads. Yeah, I mean, and talking about modern technology, he recorded. He did what's it called? Lazy. He did this song that became a big hit about 10 years ago, and he recorded the vocal on his laptop. It's amazing. That's good. That's classic. Victor Bockris, Lou Reed. You don't have to always like the performer. I mean, Lou Reed was apparently a very, very difficult character. The book's great though. It's a great read. It's excellent. And yeah, this is a classic. Peter Guralnick about Elvis, Last Train to Memphis, The Rise of Elvis Presley. I got a lot more respect for Elvis having read that. I've never been interested that much in Elvis. It was more my parents' kind of style, but reading that, I really got to admire Elvis. So there's that. And then George Melly. If you're English, you'll know who George Melly is, and if you're not, you'll never heard of him. This is 3 autobiographies stuck together. One is called Rum, Bum and Concertina, and you can get perhaps a hint that this is very rude. And George Melly was a very naughty boy most of the time. It's about the jazz scene, and I was never interested in that, but the trad jazz kind of thing. And he was a singer, sort of. Well, he couldn't really sing. He was a front man, a very ebullient personality. He was great. They used to be on telly quite a lot, commenting on things, and he was very, very entertaining. It's amazing what you can get away with, I suppose. But he's talking about all the arguments about the Ken Collier jazz band and all this kind of thing that I had no interest in whatsoever. But now when you read things like this and there's people you've never heard of, you can go on Spotify or whatever and listen. And I had to listen to some, and I thought a lot of it was quite good, actually. I quite enjoyed it. And I've got too much stuff here, but one thing I wanted to mention was the English and Scottish Popular Ballads, edited by Francis James Child. He was an American academic, and it's in 5 volumes. These are these great, not classic, they're not classical songs, but old songs from the folk tradition. And Child, so that they're called Child Ballads now. He's given his name to them. He was 19th century, I think. Don't have a date on here. An academic. He didn't go out in the field collecting songs or anything like that. But these great classics, so examples would be Barbara Allen, the song Barbara Allen. Loads of people have done that. He found versions, printed versions all over the place. Samuel Pepys had a collection of ballads, and in the 17th century, and then there was the Percy's Relics, which collected them from Pepys, and he printed them, and they became known to people like Coleridge. So, you know, it's in one of his poems he quotes from Sir Patrick Spence. Late, late yestreen, I saw the new moon with the old moon in her arm, and I fear, my master dear, we'll have a deadly storm. And then Coleridge goes on saying something like, well, if the bard was weatherwise who made the grand old ballad of Sir Patrick Spence, tonight will not go hence unruffled by storms and blah. So he goes on. I think it's Dejection. I know I haven't written that down. Anyway, that's those are probably out of print, but beautiful. And there's the Robin Hood ballads. There's all sorts of different things in there. And then following on from that, there's Bertrand Harris Bronson's traditional tunes of the child ballads. This is also a monumental work of 5 volumes. And another academic, Bertrand Harris Bronson, absolutely amazing. It's not a book you read, but it's a source book. Well, you could read it. But finding the tunes to these songs, you know, and notating them. Anyway, I've gone on far too long. I don't like long videos. Thank you very much. Bye bye.